Welcome to a strategic briefing on the shifting sands of the Middle East. We are currently witnessing a geopolitical endgame, the systematic encirclement of Tehran. This isn't just a regional skirmish, it is a global realignment. As we look at the map, notice the three-pronged pressure. Northern frontier pressure from Azerbaijan's strategic naval encirclement in the Mediterranean, and massive US-led naval pressure in the Persian Gulf. This analysis, based on intelligence from the Chanakya dialogues, reveals a US deployment strategy aimed at dismantling proxies and forcing a fundamental change in the world order. The military situation is a checkmate in progress. The US and Israel have systematically severed what we call the hands, Iran's regional proxies, and the arteries, its financial lifeline through Venezuela. However, the transaction is the real story. Despite the massive armada centered around the USS Abraham Lincoln, the goal isn't necessarily a long-term invasion or democracy building. It's simpler, a transactional exit for the Iranian leadership. Washington's message is take the money and leave. But this unilateral US approach is creating a paradox. While the US wins in the Middle East, its traditional alliances are fracturing. Europe, the UK, and Canada are beginning to hedge their survival, looking toward India and China as the US becomes a less predictable partner. Look at the sheer scale of the force deployed. The flagship, USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, is supported by Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers and attack submarines with Tomahawk cruise missile capabilities. The strategic positioning is deliberate. Notice the deployment zones in the Indian Ocean and Gulf of Aden. They are maintaining a standoff range to avoid the literal kill zones near Houthi-controlled Yemen. By utilizing Saudi airspace for mid-air refueling, this armada can strike from a distance where Iran's immediate coastal defenses cannot reach them. But Tehran is not sitting idly by. Their strategy is, if we go, we push the button. Iran claims it can overwhelm carrier defenses using asymmetric saturation attacks, salvos of 10 to 15 hypersonic or ballistic missiles fired simultaneously. Intelligence assessments suggest a cornered regime scenario. If the supreme leader perceives the regime is truly collapsing, the strategy shifts to a martyrdom complex. They may choose to inflict maximum global damage, regardless of the consequences for their own people. The reason the regime is cornered is because its hands have been cut off. Hamas is described as broken into a wheelchair, its military capacity severely degraded. Hezbollah is hollowed out, its leadership decapitated, and its operatives forced underground by Mossad, Kidon unit. Crucially, the logistics have failed. With the fall of the Assad regime in 2024, the land bridge for weapons transit from Iran through Syria has been blocked by the new leadership under Ahmed al-Shara. The financial arteries have also been severed. For years, Venezuela served as the financial hub for the resistance axis, facilitating illicit oil exports and money laundering. The regime flip in Venezuela, which involved the turning of Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, has resulted in an immediate cessation of cash flow to Hezbollah and Hamas. The cash cow is dead. Internally, the regime is at war with its own people. While facing an external armada, they are battling a revolution that has already seen over 16,500 killed in crackdowns. The US strategy leverages this internal fracture to force a deal. The Trump doctrine here is open for business, not talks. The offer is a golden bridge, secure passage and wealth retention for the inner circle if they abdicate power and flee to Russia or China. While the US focuses on the transaction, the West is splintering. European leaders now recognize the US is no longer a guaranteed security guarantor. This has triggered a historic reversal. Europe is pivoting to India for defense technology, like the Akash missile and Pinaka systems. Simultaneously, the UK and Canada are bypassing Washington to secure their economic futures. We see UK PM Keir Starmer and Canadian leadership signing landmark deals directly with Beijing, defying US pressure in an act of economic realism. Tehran is checkmated. It faces a binary choice, a transactional exit or total destruction, but the victory comes at a cost. The Pax Americana is fractured. The endgame is Tehran, but the legacy is a multipolar world where Europe and the Anglosphere no longer look solely across the Atlantic for leadership.